brokers and lenders who are adopting this technology are gaining mind share and market share more rapidly than others who don't. This is a technology which is here and now. It's got massive potential. There will be a point in time where you can rely on the AI without human oversight.
Are we all about to lose our jobs to AI? That's the big question we're addressing today on Buy-to-Let Insights. I'm Jonathan Workman, Transformation Director for Mortgages at Paragon, and I'm joined today by Arindam Basu from Digilytics and Jason Wild, Head of Sales at Paragon. Arindam, just asking really about whether we've got the balance right in approaching the question of AI or whether there is some complacency.
Quite the opposite. If you cast your mind back to last week, what the Chancellor and the Governor of the Bank of England said, that AI is now classified as a general purpose technology, similar to the steam engine and electricity in the past. And with the introduction of these technologies, there's always been an expansion in the economy and in growth, which leads to job growth. And mortgages is very similar. With the data that we have from past, since COVID, the productivity improvement in the economy has only been 50 basis points. And the fact that there is so much wastage in the origination section of the mortgage sector, so from the time that the lead is generated to the application is then submitted to the lender, to the time that the application is converted into a loan, there is a huge amount of wastage. And AI certainly has the potential and increasingly so the evidence of delivering productivity improvement, which can cut out the wastage, which can drive growth, and therefore help brokers grow. I must caveat that this being now classified as a general purpose technology is going to take 30 to 40 years to go across the industry and across the economy. But clearly, as we have seen in the past, the early adopters and the fast followers are going to benefit much more from the late followers. So pretty soon we're going to start to see that brokers and lenders who are adopting this technology are gaining mind share and market share more rapidly than others who don't.
Because I think that's where potentially some of the complacency concern might be, is that some people will be thinking about this, well, it's happening down the line, it's something which is going to come into the mortgage industry and we're still thinking about regulation, etc. But whether we fully appreciate it or not, and I don't think we do, AI in our daily lives is playing a bigger and bigger role, isn't it? So whether it's the phone in your pocket running your life, or whether it's to do with the communication and the services that we're getting from the companies we interact with, it's happening increasingly on a day-to-day basis. And it is in mortgages.
Absolutely. And if you look at the adoption of AI across the world, a lot in the US, if you look at the way the regulations and the legal frameworks are rapidly evolving, this new AI bill which is going to come in, it's testament to the fact that this is a technology which is here and now.
Yeah.
And we need to find ways to adopt it, to use it, and equally to regulate it so that it is fair, it is transparent, and it's used for the right purposes. But it is a technology which is here and now. It's got massive potential. There is N number of researchers across, the large universities, the academic think tanks, the industry pollsters who are saying this technology is being used. There is very strong evidence of it benefiting and improving productivity, improving efficiency. And so if used properly and if adopted well, it's going to be a good for the industry.
And there's no going back. It's happening. It's increasing. And I think it's about sizing up the opportunities and where it is. And one of the big, just coming to you, Jason, one of the key things which I think has come out in the press in some of the scare stories is there was a McKinsey report which said that the broker role was the biggest at risk from AI. And more than that, there was I think last year, Kudu actually put their AI tool through the CMAP mortgage advice qualification, and it passed.
Yeah.
It wasn't, I think it was 70%, not 100%.
Okay.
But nevertheless, pretty impressive. So What's your sense if the mortgage advice role is being called out as where AI will have a particular role?
Yeah, we hear it on a fairly regular basis. Exactly what you said there. And I think as good as AI is, and I'm probably nowhere near your kind of level at all of full understanding of it, I think you're still missing that personal touch. From speaking to people, I think there's still that generation of people who just want to physically speak with someone, whether or not it's over Teams or face to face. And certainly when you start looking at the mortgage industry, you're not necessarily just talking about straightforward business. You're talking about cases that sometimes are way outside of a lender's criteria that the broker needs to use their experience and know exactly where they can place that. But it's not also knowing where they can place it. It's knowing who they can speak to. And sometimes that's the biggest skill. And from my point of view, and I may be wrong, and time will prove that, I don't necessarily think that AI has got that, because it hasn't got those kind of links straight in there. But to go kind of one step further, when you're also talking about mortgage advice, you're talking about a fully protected mortgage. So you're talking about someone saying that these are your protection needs in terms of, life insurance, critical illness, redundancy cover, anything in the back of that. And again, I don't necessarily see that AI is anywhere near that at the moment, but I'm guessing as it evolves, it will start to. But I'd say from our point of view, it's still that personal touch.
Yeah. I mean, I would just add to that. So I think there's a different way to approach or think about how AI is going to help the industry, as opposed to this being a replacement technology, replacing jobs. I think increasingly, and I use the word assistive technology. So this is going to assist people in the job to help them do their jobs better. There was a report from the FCA, along with Oliver Wyman, just a couple of months ago, talking about the use of AI in the industry, in the financial services industry. And they concluded that there's about 85% of the financial services industry could benefit from AI. But interestingly, all of the use cases, all of the applications of AI always required a human oversight. So this was helping, the junior-most mortgage advisor, the broker, to do their jobs better. And by doing that, they will grow. So think about it as assistive. Think about it, we now increasingly talk about bionic processes. And as we go through, we break it down into specific process steps where AI is assisting the broker, AI is assisting the advisor.
I guess it depends on the topic, the task, what's being covered at that point in time. So it may be a first step where it's an assist, but is there a case for, well, over time, that's going to grow into replacing?
Yeah, I mean, with the use of any technology, right, there are certainly things that you trust the technology to do independently without human oversight, right? It happened when computers first came in, or human computers first came in, then automated computers came in. Then we had the what we call the rise of rules engine technology, where you could codify rules. Now it's the rise of AI, which is taking a little bit more data to decide the logics, so the decision, the situation. But there will be a point in time where you can rely on the AI without human oversight. And that time of the broker, of the advisor, of the lender can be used to do more value-added stuff. And it's a continuum, and we will start to see that continuum to continue.
So yeah, I was just going to ask a point. And do you think it's the fear of the unknown that's potentially holding some people back, that they're not quite sure what it's capable of? You can quite easily, watch a short video or, read something that kind of highlights all the potential dangers. And maybe that kind of puts people off potentially looking at exploring it. Because I think from my point of view, I'm nowhere near kind of geared up on AI, but I have dabbled in it, little bits and pieces. And exactly what you said, I can see where it can assist you. And I think, in certain industries, and I'd say certainly within financial services, you're not using it to assist you, whether or not that's, in terms of, client retentions, marketing strategies with your clients. I personally think you are missing out. But I think a lot of brokers will steer away from that.
Absolutely. I think the fear of the unknown, and this came up in the FCA report, that one of the biggest things that is required in the industry is educating the industry participants as to how best to use the technology. If you view the technology as a friend, as opposed to as somebody that's going to take your job, you're going to benefit much more out of it. And if I break that down, specifically for, let's say, buy-to-let
Yep.
lending, I mean, the critical things that the broker's doing is around, generating leads or interested customers.
Yep.
Then preparing the case
Yep.
and presenting the case, and then actually following up with the lender
Yep.
to make sure that the case is processed rapidly and with the right standards.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Once the loan is funded to a customer, there's also the broker's job to make sure that they're in touch with the customer,
Absolutely.
they're understanding,
Yeah.
what the post-funding environment is and how they can do product switches. AI in the mortgages industry, and we do some pieces of it in our technology, but AI can help in each of these. If you think about the first one where you're doing lead generation to application, right? Typically, the industry averages at about 5 leads to one application, so 1 in 5. We are seeing the use of AI in marketing, in spotting, in qualifying leads. Really bring that number down. And then from an application to funding, the industry tends to be about 1 in 2 applications being funded. If you can bring that down, and we're starting to see, that being brought down to 1 in 1.5 or 1 in 1.4, that's a huge impact.
Absolutely.
And then product switches, as you go past the funding, if you can keep in constant touch, if you can give what we call predictive alerts to customers saying, you might be eligible for this kind of a transfer, this kind of product switch in 1 week, 1 month, one quarter. That significantly improves the retention of the customer. So in all the aspects where the broker and the lender is interacting with the customer, AI is now proving to have an impact and a beneficial impact.
I think there's also just even on the day-to-day use of AI, this point about not even realizing you're using it is perhaps where a broker role, and Jason, you probably see this already, where some of the technology, the software that you use, if you use a laptop, if you use a Mac or whatever, it's starting to be built into some of the applications to assist brokers, isn't it? You're seeing that?
Yeah, 100%. We're seeing that. We're seeing it if you go down the route of even things like LinkedIn, marketing posts, etc. That I was on the other day, and it will actually rewrite it with an AI form of AI for you, targeted for that kind of marketplace. So again, we've kind of seen that, and I keep coming back to perhaps my own experiences. There is that I was aware of it, and I kind of steered away from it. And then kind of dabbled in it a little bit and thought, well, actually, I really like what it's doing there.
Start using it without realizing.
It's exactly that. Yeah.
You see the benefits in it, you want more.
100%.
I think just to move on the conversation to perhaps more around the offering that we have within Paragon and Digilytics specifically. Arindam, we've been working for a good few months now as part of our technology investment. So look at the ways that we can use your software, Digilytics software, as part of our mortgage process. And I think probably just putting some context in it before we talk about how this will actually be used and we'll see the benefit. Our technology investment over the last few months, we built a technology platform, but we've been really clear to say that this isn't just about technology, workflow, online submissions, but it's also about making sure that we get the right data in place so we might make the best decisions, more reliable decisions, and that, as you were saying, Arindam, we convert as many applications through as possible through to completion. And our design principle has been to say, don't just build the technology, design that, but look at, from a people perspective, our selling point, I think the thing which Paragon is known for is about its people, its expertise, and this is where the assist comes in. So that we put that as part of the whole technology build. So every single application for us, it's a fundamental that an underwriter will pick up that case. There's no application that will go throughout without somebody involved. Same with evaluation. Every single property that we look at, we'll have a surveyor go out and look at it. So there are ways that you can do this without people, but we're choosing to make sure people are at the center of it. And I think that's essential for the build. The technology that we've done is first and foremost going to access data. That's trusted sources. So we can access those, which means you don't have to ask the broker or the customer, the landlord for them. But where we do need to access documents, which is typically going to be still hundreds of thousands of pages of P60 payslips, SA302s, tax documents, that's where we're linking up with Digilytics to say, can we treat this as data? And that's where Digilytics comes into the play. So do you just want to talk a little bit about the role that Digilytics will play as part of that technology platform?
Happy to, Jonathan. So when I started this business about 6 years ago, we took a fundamental punt that while the volume of data and the sources of data, trustworthy data, are increasing in our ecosystem, there is always going to be new regulation. There is always going to be new scenarios because of which documents will still be used. So we really specialized and invested about 6 years of our lives in developing the technology which delivers data from documents which can be trusted. And it's really important to understand that trusted data with minimal human oversight is increasingly complex. With the rise of fraud, and I was just on my way here, hearing that fraud now represents almost $1 billion industry in the UK, right? £1 billion in industry, and a lot of it is document fraud. So the ability to deploy technology where you can create trustworthy data coming out of documents, which is akin to a syndicated data source like a credit bureau data feed, is absolutely critical. And that's where we specialize. Where do we deploy it in the broker journey? Where do you think about leads to applications?
Yeah.
Right. Getting early pre-approvals or early indicative decisions in principle.
Okay.
Right. There's a lot of use that we are seeing lenders in the market almost start to ask for evidentiary information, things like pay slips and bank statements at a very early stage, so they can be more certain that the decision is, in principle, is not just customer stated information, it's backed up by the documents. The biggest part where we're working very closely with Paragon is in the application to offer stage, where once all of these documents are presented, you can help the broker package the case well. So what we say first time right application, making sure all the mandatory documents are there. We have a proprietary 4C check, which talks about the completeness of the document set.
Okay.
The correctness that, bank statements are not out of date, or pay slips are not out of date or in the range. The consistency of the information, that the applicant's name actually appears in the same way on the P60 or the bank statement, and the compliance, which is, are there evidences of fraud in these two documents? So by applying these 4C checks on data extracted using AI, we're able to make sure that when the underwriter gets the case, they are much more confident about the data. The broker has packaged the case much better. And then the last piece is then assisting in affordability. So in the affordability and especially in the buy to let segment is becoming more what I call a shift from the accidental landlord to the professional landlord, where you're needing to deal with a portfolio of properties. You're needing to deal with, much more professional customers. The ability to arrive at affordability quickly and consistently, to look at the portfolio schedule, to look at all the different income documents is very, very important. So that is the third piece where AI is used and Digilytics is used.
And we're seeing it in practice now. And there's been other examples where AI tools have been used. I think Rocket Mortgages in the US have used a similar approach and they're saying about cutting their time down to completion by 25%, seeing big benefit there. And I think that's the key thing, is it quickly extracts the right data, presents it to the underwriter, draws their attention to what they need to look at. You get a lot more consistency. You can rely on it, and it means we speed things through. And that's a fundamental really for the design of our system as well, which is using the AI and machine learning that Digilytics brings to help us to do that. But it is keeping the underwriter at the forefront. Their work, some of the work has been virtualized and done for them, but it's still enabling them to review the outputs of that and to interact with the broker and the landlord when appropriate. And that's absolutely key really from the design that we've gone through. So it's a fundamental,
Absolutely. And we like to fancy ourselves as the HelloFresh of the underwriting world. So we prepare the information, we make sure that the ingredients are all appropriate, but the actual decisioning, the actual underwriting is the chef, the
We've
underwriter.
seen, I think, even in the test phase where we ran some cases through the Digilytics software, those cases that Digilytics highlighted some areas where the underwriter didn't pick up. And what you have is consistency. So you've got a team of underwriters who look at cases with a different pair of eyes and I think the complexity of what we do, particularly in specialist buy-to-let, is where technology and data can help us even more. Because of the complexity, you've got a more consistent check. You know that you've not missed things, which means you can progress the case more quickly. That's the objective, that's the aim. And conversion is a key objective for us, is to make sure that we get more of the applications that are presented to us through to completion. They don't drop off, they're dealt with more quickly. And that's where you can bring AI into the fore.
Which becomes a win-win for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And if you think about it, and I spoke about it in an earlier conversation, that, like you were saying to Jason, that, one day there's a flurry of applications and leads. The next day there's, is anybody working at all? And that's a great example. What tends to happen across the industry is that when there's a rating or a new, a bunch of products being launched, there's a flurry of activity. Yeah. Lenders are experience a huge number of applications, and the turnaround times or the response times, and what we call the ARC curve, the accuracy, the responsiveness and the coverage of these cases gets significantly compromised. So there's a slowdown, and that's because you cannot ramp up and ramp down your case preparation, your underwriting team so rapidly. With the use of a technology like AI, you're able to do that much more efficiently, right? And so the consistency of response, the consistency, the how consistently you can tell your broker that you're going to get a response within a certain number of hours, right? Which is a case which is likely to get funded and not. Yeah. That improves, and as your customers get more professional, they're going to expect this kind of service. And I go back to it that this industry, people who are going to adopt this, the early adopters, the fast followers are going to get much more market share. We are starting to see, we talk to a lot of buy-to-let lenders in the market, and everyone is saying that, look, Paragon is doing something right. So kudos to you.
Yeah, great, excellent. I mean, and this is not a drop it in and walk away, and it does. This is something where you build on it. You put the capability in over time. But I completely agree with you that it actually, another benefit of it is that it builds capacity within our operation, gets people focused on the things where they really add value and where we really want them to interact with the broker, and some resilience as well. So that product pool. Just one other thing, Jason, I think worth highlighting is not just on new applications, but perhaps from customers that are already with us and they come to the end of the product term, there's probably some opportunity there as well.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, you touched on this earlier. I think, what we kind of see is that, every broker will have a contact strategy in place. Some, based on the data that we get, that 41% of our product switches come through a different broker and a different firm than who submitted the original deal, be it that 2, 3 or 5 years ago. So it says that whilst every broker is confident they've got their own retention strategy in place, there's quite a large percentage of those that aren't necessarily working. So again, you did touch on this earlier. I think AI would be a perfect place to be starting on that. Whether or not it's just maintaining regular contact with those clients, like news updates, this is what's going on in the mortgage market, not necessarily just buy to let, but this is what's going on in the industry. I'm guessing that those are the kind of things that AI can do relatively quickly for a broker, personalize it to them so they can then maintain contact with their database. Because the bottom line is, if you're missing out on a product switch with one of your clients and another broker's placing that deal, you've then got to think, well, what else are they going to then try and take away? Are they going to take any protection cover, any other mortgages? You could have lost the client for, effectively forever.
Yeah. I would, at the end of all of that, also say that, I think we need to be cognizant about the state of evolution of AI. If you think about the human mind, and we are talking about artificial intelligence, so, it takes society, or it takes a human mind 18 years to mature before society can say that a human, can independently be classified as an adult and take independent decisions. AI, while it's rapidly improving, and it's certainly not going to take 18 years, you have to provide it some human oversight before you can really let it be completely independent.
I agree. So it's been a fascinating conversation. I think we could go on for a long time talking about this, and I'm sure we'll come back to it. But I really appreciate your time, Arindam, and Jason as well, for having this conversation around AI. We're very excited about some of the opportunities that it has. But I think just in summary, there is some notes of caution, but the way we should embrace where it can really add value. And that's what we're focusing on, certainly within Paragon, as part of our new technology platform, which we've launched, is out there in the market, and we're expecting to see big improvements around speed, certainly certainty around the application decision and what we're asking for from brokers, and as well from that customer satisfaction, broker satisfaction. So it's been designed on that basis to harness technology, data, AI, and to make sure that we still have people at the center of it all. So really appreciate your time. Thank you very much to everybody for joining us, and we'll see you next time.